Satellites. In the context of spaceflight, a satellite is an object which has been placed into orbit by human endeavor. Such objects were sometimes called artificial satellites to distinguish them from natural satellites, such as the Moon. The world's first artificial satellite, the Sputnik 1, was launched by the Soviet Union in 1957. Since then, thousands of satellites have been launched into orbit around the Earth. Some satellites, notably space stations, have been launched in parts and assembled in orbit. Artificial satellites originate from more than 50 countries and have used the satellite launching capabilities of 10 nations. A few hundred satellites are currently operational, whereas thousands of unused satellites and satellite fragments orbit the Earth as space debris. A few space probes have been placed into orbit around other bodies and become artificial satellites to the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and the Sun. Satellites are used for a large number of purposes. Common types include military and civilian Earth observation satellites, communication satellites, navigation satellites, weather satellites, and research satellites. Space stations in human spacecraft in orbit are also satellites. Satellite orbits vary greatly, depending on the purpose of the satellite, and are classified in a number of ways. Well-known classes include low Earth orbit, polar orbit, and geostationary orbit. As per the latest estimates, the total number of artificial satellites orbiting the Earth today is around 8,300. Of these, about 3,000 are not operational, having lived out their useful life and are part of the space debris. Satellites are usually semi-independent, computer-controlled systems. Satellite subsystems attend many tasks, such as power generation, thermal control, telemetry, attitude control, and orbit control. The main parts of a satellite are solar panel. Solar panels on the satellite use solar cells to turn the sun's energy into electricity. Solar cells are mounted on the body of the satellite or on flat panels. Mounting the solar cells on the satellite's body results in a more compact configuration, which may be desirable if space and mass are limited, or the satellite is meant to be covert, but since not all cells will be illuminated by the sun at any one time, the power generated is less than it would be from large panels made of solar cells that are continually positioned to face the sun. Fuel tank. Fuel tanks of satellites store the fuel for the rocket. Satellite housing. The configuration of the satellite housing is determined by the system employed to stabilize the attitude of the satellite in its orbital slot. 3-axis stabilized satellites use internal gyroscopes rotating at 4,000 to 6,000 revolutions per minute. The housing is rectangular with external features. Main rocket motor. The rocket motor is used to move the satellite in space. This system consists of a large rocket motor that is used to move the satellite into the desired location, as well as smaller thruster rockets that keep the satellite at that location. These motors are powered by electric or chemical fuel. Thrusters are needed because various natural forces cause satellites in orbit to drift out of position. These forces include the pressure of the solar wind, the effects of the Earth's and Moon's gravity, and variations in the Earth's magnetic field. Antenna. Antennas and transceivers send and receive radio signals to and from the Earth or another satellite. A satellite's antennas have two basic missions. One is to receive and transmit the telecommunications signals to provide services to its users. The second is to provide tracking, telemetry, and command functions to maintain the operation of the satellite in orbit. Of the two functions, if telecommunications services are disrupted, users may experience a delay in services until the problem is repaired. However, if the telecommunications services function is disrupted, there is great danger that the satellite could be permanently lost, drifting out of control, with no means of commanding it.